Good evening, fellas. There's a young lady that's on the forum that was asking some questions. And she writes, can I ask a really damning question? Why would black slave traders trade their own people to American white slave owners? And what happened was there was an Englishman that went down there. And basically what they did was they played one tribe against another tribe. And if you know anything about tribes in Africa, they tended to not really get along very well. So we did it to ourselves. Instead of sticking together and fighting off the Europeans, you know, we fought each other. So what they would do is they would give guns to one tribe and set them up against another tribe. And they took their bounty in slaves, or their payment in slaves. And then it got to the point where Arabs and other blacks were raiding villages. You couldn't even step outside your freaking village without getting knocked in the head. Also, you're actually wrong about them taking big, healthy bucks. They actually took women, they took children, they took whomever they could get. Okay? It wasn't all about the size and all that kind of stuff like you would think there, Linda Gross. Let's see, I acknowledge that there are a great many contributions to society by blacks. That's a different topic. Actually, it's not a different topic because even during slavery days, we were actually contributing to this country, even before slavery. I just recently watched a program put out by a Caucasian male out of Texas on the history of the American history. The first man to die in the Revolutionary War was a black man. At the shot that was heard around the world, half the people on the battle were black. Stuff we didn't know, that they don't teach us in American history class, because the South wrote the history books. So they wrote us right out of it, of course. They didn't tell you that when that whole war started, they were in a church. It was half white, half black. And they were listening to a black preacher. All of a sudden, they all got up and went to war against the British. Okay? There was a double agent. There was a black man that was really instrumental in us winning the war against the British. They didn't tell us that. And it goes on and on and on. We were involved in Congress. Okay? A lot of blacks involved in Congress. This guy started this whole thing because he was at the he lived in Texas. He's a Texan, a Republican, and he was at the Capitol, and he saw some empty photos on the wall, or paintings missing on the wall. So he went and searched them, found them behind a stairwell on the ground. And he went and looked at them. They noticed that they were black folks. He didn't realize there were black people in the history of Texas that served in the government. So he began to start doing research. They're trying to rewrite the books now. He's made a comment about release about 35% of the actual information that's out there. It's pretty bad. So the South wrote the history books, and that's why Texas, you know, is acting a goddamn fool over that Obama stuff. That nonsense about withdrawing from the Union. Like that actually be possible. But blacks were contributing even during slavery. There were blacks in government. There were free blacks. We don't hear about them. There were black business people. One of the first millionaires in the country was a black woman who put out products after slavery days. We don't hear about this stuff. We do hear about some of the black contributors, you know, from history. One of my favorites, George Washington Carver, and his, you know, 1,000 uses for the peanuts, but he also had a ton of other inventions. And then, of course, the list goes on and on. There were tons of blacks that were contributing to this country, though. I mean, it wasn't white folks creating all these inventions. It was some blacks also. All right. And you can't talk about black folks without talking about the history, to pull out the real history there. What else do we have here? Okay, that looks good. All right, I was just going over the forum or the blog, video blog, and checking some of the comments that people have made. Let's go to the recent video I just put up. Well, that's life, fellas, so keep living it. And player, don't get rid of the comics. They might. I realize that. I'm not gonna get rid of them. I'm gonna take photos of them and put them on Craigslist to see what's popping. I'm gonna take them, box them down to the comic stores. I know I can get something for those things. Cause this guy, he put a lot of money into it. CJ Sal says also the conquistadors killed 15. Yeah, I know that 15 million of the apparently 16 million that were in Mexico, and around 80 million in the whole American continent. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. Yeah, that's really bad too. But history, hey, it's good that mankind is growing up a bit in some areas, not in all areas. Let's see, I believe we have more comments. J.A. saying, well, player, and you know this is life never stops. A close friend can be lost, but another created. To sit alone in darkness with no friends or even lovers is the worst fate imaginable for a player or anyone else. Lovers come and go. Close friends come to see you in the hospital and check on your recovery. I wouldn't trade a harem of tens for a single close friend, and I agree with you there, J.A. I surely wouldn't either, man. Okay, that's it right there. So that's our show for the day, fellas. And you guys, tomorrow is Friday. Friday and Saturday, you got to get out of your house. Don't make excuses like, oh, I got to work. Oh, I got to get up early. Shut the fuck up and get your bitch assness out of the house. Okay? Get to the clubs. That's where the women go. All right? Nightclubs. I noticed one of the fellows in one of the last videos looking for other places to go. Okay, let's say nightclubs like fishing in a barrel, and all the other places are like going fishing in a river. Which would you rather fish from if you were hungry and starving? All right? Peace.